The big board of the most annoying people you encounter every year during the tournament. That takes us to the jerk-off who picks based on
mascots.
We joke and say it's women, but there's always some jerk off the bar who has done this and wants to tell you about it. Oh, really? Right. It's so interesting about, I don't know, how the Blue Jays would use their quickness and speed to outfight a duck. Like, there. Please explain to me how the Blue Devil would use his magic powers to overcome a guy with a gun. Tell me about how in the 17th century they used to actually fight bears versus tigers, and bears always won. Who the hell cares? If you don't like basketball, just don't participate. Don't annoy the hell out of the rest of us who actually like this sport, and this is a big event for us.
Oh my God,
I don't care about your analysis of mascot fights. Congratulations on your totally system you have created. That was actually the storyline for a What's Happening episode in 1977. I'm not even joking. There was a What's Happening where Rerun was picking games based on mascots.
Oh. Oh my God.
Really? If this is how you're doing it, that's fine. Just don't tell me about it.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you on this fine Wednesday. Jeff DeForest and the man resplendent in blue. Excellent color. Are you auditioning for the practice squad for the Dolphins? You got the aqua. Lubie Lubitz. Of course, we know that Chris Greer has been in the habit in the past of going to gas stations.
Oh, God.
Trying to find offensive linemen so he could help Brian Flores tank the season, even though Flores refused to do so. And subsequently was fired as a result. We want you out of here, and let's run this 8 and 9 pack. That's the way it goes. Hope everybody's feeling great today. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day here where we originate from in South Florida. And I'm getting the fever, Lubie. I'm starting to get the fever, although every time I listen to that clip from the professor's big board from Friday about the most annoying people around tournament time, the most annoying types of people, one of which would be people using bizarre systems for picking the games, having nothing to do with any kind of numerology, analytics, sabermetrics, actually viewing the games, knowing something about the teams, which isn't easy to do. I mean, do you know where St. Francis is from? They punched their ticket to the tournament yesterday. Great story, Lubie, by the way. Great story, illuminated by an article I read this morning about Rob Krimmel, who is their coach. He played there. He's been there for like 20 years. The team made the tournament for the second time, I believe, in its history. There was a 34-year drought between NCAA appearances. They clinched it last night by winning their conference championship over Central Connecticut on the road. At one point this season, St. Francis, which is from Loretto, PA, population 1,168. They're in the tournament, Louis. They were 10-17 and last in the Northeast Conference, I guess it is. Is it Northeast Conference? I just wrote down NE. What does that stand for? Do we know?
Northeast? I can look it up.
Isn't that amazing? I can't remember from like 15 minutes ago when I read this. But anyway, these are the stories that make for just a classic, not just drama, but Cinderella type of stuff here. So St. Francis is in. They probably get crushed. They have zero money in NIL available to them.
Really?
We were talking yesterday, and it's an interview posted on Bleacher Brothers. Unfortunately, we weren't able to connect on the video, which has happened to me now twice in the last couple of weeks. Not sure. Does the world not require that you have Google Chrome?
I don't know.
Computer?
Everyone I know uses Google Chrome. Like, we're on a Mac and we use Google Chrome. So I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I'm confused with this recent event turn of events the last couple of weeks.
Talked yesterday for an hour, actually. It seemed like it flew by, Lubie. I'm looking at the clock here, figuring, okay, we got to end this soon. And then I realized, wow, Jim Larinaga, what a gracious guy. I never told him. I don't necessarily imply to these guests that they're going to be on for an hour. I try to let them know, but because, you don't want to have a guy sitting there. He's got a dentist appointment or something at 4:30, and we're taking him till 5 o'clock. So Larinaga was great yesterday. Absolutely brilliant. If you get a chance, catch that interview. He likes Drake so far. Among I think it's 11 teams have already punched their ticket, one of which is not any kind of Cinderella whatsoever in Gonzaga. Although, does Gonzaga become Cinderella this year as compared to years in the past when they've been heavily favored? Many experts were picking them. I remember it was very popular to pick Gonzaga, Lubie, to win the
Yes,
tournament.
they were
And
great.
every year they get knocked out in the second round somehow. They would always fail to meet up to expectations coming in or their seeding. And this year, I have a couple of people telling me, "Oh yeah, well, they have a real shot." I don't know how you feel about that. They were life and death to beat St. Mary's, who had beaten them twice during the regular season in the West Coast Conference. And on top of that, how about this for watching a brick fest, Lubie? Not breakfast, which a lot of people are dining on and chowing down on right now, hurriedly getting out of the house. But a brick fest, one combined total last night from the two teams, St. Mary's, Gonzaga, two very good teams, combined 1 for 31 from 3-point
Oh
range.
God! Oh please!
1 for 31. That's impossible. And the one was made by Gonzaga. They ran away in the end and won by a wide enough margin to cover the point spread. They were favored by 3 and a hook, even though St. Mary's had beaten them head to head twice. Kind of an interesting thing there, Lubie. You think the gamblers knew something? The game was in Las Vegas, by the way, where the tournament finals were held. So that was a team that was no surprise in the West Coast Conference is not a one bid conference. I would imagine that St. Mary's, off the season they had, makes the tournament easily as an at-large team. But these others, I mean, you're talking about Robert Morris gets in for the first time in 10 years. I believe that's their 10th appearance. University of North Carolina would be no surprise, but the University of North Carolina Wilmington looms as a little bit of a surprise. They get in they beat Delaware. They beat Delaware last night. And in that, Robert Morris won the Horizon over Youngstown State. Youngstown State was a live underdog in that game, but Robert Morris handled them with relative ease. So you have more teams that have punched their ticket to the tournament. The bigger conferences, their early rounds got underway, but their early rounds don't involve anybody that you would really want to watch, do they? Syracuse, a winner. We won an ACC game. My beloved Orange.
You beat FSU.
They were horrible this year.
Yes, you were bad.
Adrian Autry? Is that the name of the coach that replaced Jimmy B? Adrian Autry was a former Syracuse player. I know his last name is Autry. I want to say his first name is Adrian. And lousy year. I mean, subpar year. They really looked like garbage most of the season. But they did manage to win a tournament game, so they move on to the second round, although that seems to be of little significance because the real heavyweights in the conference, SEC and ACC, don't start playing until round 3, Lubie. Round 3, these mega conferences has become so huge. So a little basketball fever. Drake was the pick of the smaller teams, the less likely 15, 16s. I guess they're not always seeded that low. These teams that win the one bid conference opportunities. You sometimes see them come in, at number 11? Is that
You'll get 11, you'll get 10, you'll get 12 sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, so possibilities for an upset, but Jim Larinaga pointing to Drake as the team that he thinks has a chance to maybe win a couple of games. Texas A&M. Texas A&M is the professor's sleeper pick. Texas A&M, he likes them. Okay. Texas A&M so far. So knowing nothing about the tournament, having not seen any brackets, not knowing for sure what the field is going to look like, we are going ahead and boldly making predictions based on what other people are saying. Which is that not the great way to gamble? Just take other people's work and call it your own. So, but I respect Jim Larinaga's opinion. I mean, and the guy was on top of his game. He was coaching through Christmas with the University of Miami, and he has not gone away. Which was, I thought that he just threw in a towel and said, "That's it, I can't take it anymore." He did say specifically, which he's said in the past, that it was this NIL thing. It got to him. He couldn't take it anymore. Guys were leaving the program and making $1 million, $1.5 million for going somewhere else. These were guys that were contributors, not necessarily even stars. Of course, they're going to take the money and go. So how the hell do you keep a team together? If you're going to base tournament success and ultimately college basketball success on guys being around for a little while, you can't necessarily, and you have to score in these transfers. And if you don't have somebody, a big supporter, look at St. John's, who we talked about. And I wanted to drop this in because you know who the big benefactor is? For St. John's basketball, loves Rick Pitino. There's a gentleman named Mike Rapoli who would be very familiar to horse racing fans, because the guy is always, I mean, this is a guy that makes the Sheik shake when he's at a horse sale.
Yeah.
Mike Rapoli. He's got so much money, and he's very much because Patino has an involvement in horse racing. I would imagine they connected there somewhere over a cocktail at the track in one of the executive suites. And sure enough, Rapoli is funding the St. John's basketball program with the NIL money. And this guy's never going to run out of cash, Lubie. It doesn't matter. He may as well. You may as well have Steve Cohn, the Mets owner, funding your basketball program. He may be able. Rapoli might be able to buy and sell Steve Cohn. It's possible. Although Cohn has some substantial jack, unlike unfortunately certain owners around the league. Where I was looking at some over/under totals, Lubie. You'll find that surprising for the baseball season. Is it too soon to be considering such things?
No, I mean the season starts in 2 weeks.
The Dodgers. You know what their number is for over/under wins? You would have to imagine it was like 100. 104.
Oh, Jesus.
104. The next highest total is the Braves, which I don't know. Are they suspect? We never know what's going to happen with Acuna.
They lost Freed. I mean,
Freed
no, they're not
93.
the same.
93 on the Braves. You think they win 93 games? What's the Mets should be competitive. I think their number was fairly high also. The Mets were looking at something just over 90. Your former Florida Marlins, now Miami Marlins, 63. That seems like a pretty high expectation, doesn't it? 60. Do you see them winning 63 games this year? I think 0 would be a number that I would begin with, and then maybe work my way slightly up. I'm not sure, but and the Yanks 89 and a hook. I don't know if that was adjusted after the news that Garrett Cole was going to have Tommy John surgery, be out for the season. But how about the Dodgers? They go to Japan, and Ohtani's not going to be eligible to pitch until May, so he's going to come back after the first month of the season and start working off the mound again, which. I mean, what more could this guy have done last year? If he pitched to a 16-7 record or something with a 3.21 earned run average, would that have been? Remarkable for any pitcher now. And then you factor in that the guy hit 50 home runs. Get out of here! Stole 50 bases. I don't know if he does all that if he's pitching. What do you think?
No, I mean, you would think his numbers would be curtailed a little, but with pitching at a high level, he's been MVP before. With hitting,
remember when the pitcher was always your best hitter? Little league,
yeah. When you're young, your best player does everything. He's your best pitcher. He's your best hitter. Probably your best outfielder.
Where does it go wrong for pitchers? I mean, how do they end up looking so inept at the plate?
You only do it every
not anymore at all in Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
and I would imagine what level do you stop having pitchers hit? Is a little league now with designated hitters? That would be a travesty, wouldn't it?
Like in college, they hit. So it's the pros. It's because it's every 5th day. So you're not hitting at all. You don't practice hitting at all. Like these guys are great hitters. That's all they do is practice. I mean, they field, but they practice hitting constantly. Because of worrying about your arm, you never practice hitting. So like as good as you were, you're now facing live Major League Baseball pitchers and you don't hit ever. So like it's hard to maintain your ability as a batter. Like Ohtani never stopped hitting. Ohtani was always, he's like what Travis Hunter hopes to be in the NFL. He's the one dude that they let hit. So he always was a top hitter. Like most pitchers are so important as pitchers that you're like, no, don't worry about hitting. Just go throw, please. You know,
there've been some good hitting pitchers throughout baseball history. Bob Gibson was no slouch with the bat, even though he was a feared every 4-day pitcher. Back in the day. Yeah, you had a few guys. It was like 1 out of 15 or 20 pitchers could actually hit a little bit. Yeah. And once in a while, I mean, I don't know how embarrassing it would be for a position player to be pinch hit for by a pitcher, but it used to happen on occasion.
Don Trell once in a while for the Marlins would pinch hit because he was a solid.
Trell could hit. Fernando Valenzuela. Yep. And it was exciting watching Fernando at the plate because there we go again, always picking on the fat guy. So I mean, how much fun was it watching Fernando try to leg out a triple? It was a gas. It was like watching Tommy Lasorda around the bases. It was absolutely fantastic back in the day. All a big part of Fernando Mania. But the baseball season around the corner, starting up pretty quickly though. Dodgers and the Cubs in Japan, a couple of exhibition games. And what do you think, Louie? They're going to start Yamamoto and Suzaki.
Okay.
In the first 2 games of the regular season. These games count. They're in Japan. They're going to play a couple of exhibitions there.
Yeah, they'll do games that count, and then they'll go back to not counting.
How much money are they going to generate with those two games? I
Oh,
mean, Ron
good.
Manfred could pay for the entire season for all of the low-level teams. That Marlins revenue sharing, they're probably loving every second of this. Yeah. Send them to Japan. Well, we'll just stay here in Jupiter and foul off a couple of pop flies into the stands and try and tell you that we have a good team. 63 seems like a lofty number. Where do we go on that one, Lubie? We've been hitting this every year. Remember the deal Volkswagen drive for 75? That fell a little short, but at least we got our money's worth of excitement out of watching this thing teeter on the balance on the razor's edge for the entire season. It came down to the final 2 days against the New York Mets. Remember that?
Yep.
And they had to go against DeGrom and Syndergaard the last two games and ended up losing both of those by a narrow margin, and we ended up losing the bet. So what good was it, Lubie? We could have just folded up half of the money and thrown it out the car window.
I don't expect them to win a lot of games, but I mean, 63 is not like you're supposed to automatically win 60. So they really can't win. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any expectation for the season, but 63 is that's not some gargantuan number.
60 was the fabled given. You're going to win 60, lose 60, and it's what you do in the other 40. That's the old adage about Major League Baseball and what the outcome of the season is going to be. I'm not sure that the given of 60 is worthwhile because you have to assume that the Yankees. At what point will Sandy Alcantara be in pinstripes? When do you think that the Yankees pull the trigger on that?
I don't
Yankees
know.
don't care, right? They give them their top 11 prospects. What do they care? They'll never do anything with the Marlins. The Marlins probably want to give them back after a short period of time. If they do establish themselves as stars, then they're going elsewhere anyway after a limited period. All right, bunch of other stuff. NFL. Joey Bosa, does he have any shelf life left? Goes to the Bills. They had cut Von Miller, who was an aging veteran who still had some impact on the Bills' defense as a pass rusher. They get Joey Bosa. What's with Joey Bosa? Finished? What do you think?
He's just always hurt. The Dolphins were rumored to be going after him, and Ken and I were laughing. Like, of course, Chris Greer wants an aging, always hurt edge guy to match the other two always hurt edge guys. That one has a big contract and one's going to want one that hopefully the Dolphins aren't stupid enough to pay. So I'm actually happy. Let him go to a rival and hopefully ruin them. Yeah, no, he's very injured like all the time. And that's been his whole career. This is like, it didn't just start. It's very Phillips-esque where like when he plays, he's really good, but he's always hurt.
Steroids, you think? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, that's feasible. I haven't thought about it specifically, but.
How veiled is the testing in the NFL that nobody ever gets popped?
Oh, please.
You rarely see this. You have tennis players getting popped. I mean, Yannick Sinner, number one in the world, has a trace of some substance that you could get if you kissed your girlfriend and she was wearing lip balm. They wanted to ban the guy for life. Djokovic is screaming. The entire tennis world. Nick Kyrgios, your favorite, of course, is saying, "Oh my God, look what they did to me! Fines and this and that. They let this guy off the hook." It couldn't have been any more innocent, at least from what seemed to be a very believable account. Although, if I'm going to believe that, Lubie, then am I forced to also believe that Canelo Alvarez was eating tacos somewhere in Tijuana, and that's how all of these massive amounts of steroids got into his system? What do you think? Was it from contaminated cows?
I don't believe any of them. The tennis people, I don't know. Look, and with Ekblad, I don't know because you can do. There's so many substances.
I kind of said, "Hey, I took this stuff. I didn't know."
There's so many stuff that they put in their body, and I know they're supposed to watch everything and they're supposed to keep track of everything. But a lot of times things will be once allowed and then now they're disallowed, and like the lists a lot of time move. So for him to openly say, "Yeah, look," and he took it, he's not. I mean, even if he appeals, I don't think he expects the appeal to be upheld. The fucking one with Baffert and the one with Canelo, like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm sorry.
Baffert was probably the lamest steroid excuse ever. I bring this up not just because of Joey Bosa always being injured and being a big muscular guy, but Tiger Woods. Wow, I mean, what's up with this guy's body? He ruptured his Achilles tendon practicing golf.
Really?
Is that even remotely possible? I mean, I know I'm a stumbling, bumbling old man, and I happened to pop my Achilles while at least I was running for a ball at that point and doing something that would involve putting some stress on your Achilles tendon, trying to push off and run forward, which it's kind of a comedy show to even try to imagine that. But, I mean, do you sense more of Dr. Anthony Galea? Is he allowed in this country anymore? Is there a tariff on the drugs that he's bringing in? How obvious was it, though, that Tiger was using some kind of juice? Especially, and I never forget that Tom Rinaldi thing. Rinaldi, the shadowy figure, like it was O.J. Simpson, coming home while the limo driver's in the driveway, wearing all black, is seen leaving the back door of Tiger's mansion off of 16 of whatever golf course that is. And Rinaldi doesn't even bat an eye or blink, and he continues with the line of questioning that was only permissible through Tiger's publicist, which is, so what positives did you take away from that 81? It was kind of like interviewing Monty.
Exactly.
And here's this guy running in the backyard, literally with like a little black bag. And he's a doctor that's been known. He ended up pleading guilty to bringing illegal substances into the United States. They let him off the hook. They let him walk. They gave him, I don't know, maybe he was about to name names that were not going to be favorable for people in government. I'm not sure. But how he escaped with that. And who was he working with? He was working with Tiger, and he was working with A-Rod. What do you think? Can you draw a conclusion there? But Tiger's body breaking down to the car crash is okay. You can understand that. Look, you get your leg mangled, you're going to be having to endure some kind of physical recovery program that may involve several surgeries. But everything happens to this guy, right? His knees blow out, his elbows, his shoulders, his Achilles. I mean, he literally he's on a practice tee, and the next thing you know, he's got a blown Achilles.
Yep.
You're thinking juice, right? No, go ahead.
These are all things that happen when you're on steroids. Your body becomes a lot more susceptible to injury.
Does it not? I mean, when you see this, does it not at least raise a shred of suspicion?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tiger did it. The one is Griffey is the one that I always hated to think about, but the fact that he never got hurt in Seattle and then couldn't stay healthy in Cincinnati was a little weird. Again, like it pushes your body to do things your body's not supposed to be doing, so it pushes you to get injured a lot more than you normally would.
With all due respect to our good friend Charlie Partridge, who joined us on one of our conversation shows on Bleacher Brothers a couple of weeks ago, a great guy, a defensive line coach of the Indianapolis Colts. We got to know him as the head coach of Florida Atlantic University, went on under Narduzzi to great heights as a D-line coach and assistant head coach at the University of Pittsburgh, and apparently did a fine job there with the Indianapolis Colts this year at their defensive front. But, I mean, how lame is this where they signed Daniel Jones yesterday, 1 year, $14 million. Jones had drifted from the Giants to, I think he was on the Minnesota practice squad, the Vikings practice squad.
He was.
So he picks up a 1 year deal at $14 million, and they have Anthony Richardson on the roster. How would you like to be facing that as a Colts fan? What if you were in the Colts ticket office right now? Now, this is a city that has nothing going for it, 0.0. Located in the middle of nowhere. Their best restaurant, as we've talked about many times, at St. Elmo's. Now, are we tainted a little bit with some bitterness because Jim Gray got a table and we couldn't?
I mean, it didn't help, but the fact that they kept talking about the shrimp cocktail was like, okay, shrimp cocktail. How good could the place be? I don't care if it's the best
cocktail is your signature dish. You don't have the right to own a restaurant. You should have your license stripped immediately.
Get out of here.
What do you do with a shrimp cocktail? You put a bunch of shrimp that are already cooked, and that's how you got them. And you stick them in a little glass jar and put a celery stalk in there. And I guess, obviously, the sauce that you use, cocktail sauce, has got to be significant. But how good could it be that it would make it a signature dish, Lubie? I mean, never mind a beef Wellington, never mind steak tartare even would make more sense than a shrimp cocktail. But, I mean, and that's the most exciting thing going in the city, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Indianapolis, what else was happening here? You ended up being happy that we got a table for two at White Castle.
Yeah, White Castle a lot. They have White Castle.
We drove through some crummy neighborhood to get there, and that was it. That was like the tourist attraction. What else? You go see the backboard that Larry Bird might have practiced on at one time? Where the hell do you go?
French Lick.
Take a tour. Yeah, we got a tour going to French Lick. Okay, great. Yeah, this was the barn where he hung the basket. All right.
Now look, we're not the best place here in South Florida, but at least when Tua is healthy, he is a top 6 to 8 quarterback. He's just not healthy a lot, but like Anthony Richardson, they used a top 5 pick on, which most people, unless you were a moronic NFL person, thought that was stupid as hell because the guy was big, strong, and sucked at quarterback. And that's what he's been with the Colts. And he's also hurt a lot because all he can do is run. So he's going to get, and he doesn't know how to slide. So he just gets nailed a lot. They have him and then Daniel Jones. Yes, they're not in the best position, the Colts.
Did they create a quarterback controversy, so to speak?
Well, no, I mean, Jones
and Daniel Jones, aren't you thinking that they did that not to have Daniel Jones be a $14 million backup? You could have got any schlep just like we just did. Yeah. I mean, Zach Wilson is a more promising guy. As a backup at $6 million, it's a more frugal and it seems like a more reasonable decision than would you have been happy if the Dolphins had shelled out? It's not our money. We know this, but if it compromises their chances of getting other players because of limited salary cap availability, would you pay $14 million and feel comfortable if Daniel Jones was on the bench behind Tua, who we know is probably going to miss at least a couple of games, and who knows how many? Would you count on Tua playing 17 games this year?
Oh, no. If Tua gets to 14, that would be miraculous.
Okay. So your backup is going to be significant.
Daniel Jones, well, because that's the problem is Daniel Jones feels better than Zach Wilson, but the same reason you don't like Zach Wilson is Daniel Jones has a turnover problem. So, like, that's what the only reason it's okay to have an average backup is because he won't turn it over. But Jones does. Jones at least fumbles it a hell of a lot. So, like, he's to pay double the money, more than double the money for a guy that probably would do the same thing. I wouldn't need Daniel Jones. But yes, in Indianapolis, to me, he's pushing Richardson. Like, I don't know why they use that pick there, but they've already learned early that he's not the guy. I mean, he's not.
Can you be psychologically damaged if you're filthy rich? You've been the man your entire life, but you have an experience like Daniel Jones did with the Giants, where essentially they ran him out of town. Some guys come back even stronger. Is it possible that Daniel Jones just will never be a big-time winning quarterback, and that the Colts should have taken that into consideration? Now, you don't want to have a guy who's scatterarmed. That's for sure. But when somebody's throwing a ball like it has a gyroscope in it through their college career, how can you possibly assume that, oh, well, it'll be easy to fix that? It's not. Guys are always, I mean, just take a look at the evidence that's on the table there. And if you watch a guy play and you saw what Anthony Richardson was doing, the professor was all over this. A kid that you could root for easily, I think.
Really a good dude. He's like a really good.
I want to say it was him that I saw, and he helps out firemen, and he does all kinds of really good stuff. Speaking of which, and Tony Segreto is going to join us here in just a sec. But again, the obituary column. This one, you're familiar, of course, with Junior Bridgman. He was part of one of the big-time trades in sports history as he was shipped from the Lakers to the Milwaukee Bucks as part of the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar deal. Also, 2 other promising young players that the Lakers had on their roster. Dave Myers, big star at UCLA, kind of a flame out in the pros. He never really and Myers, of course, had a better career and is a more recognizable basketball player than even Dave Myers, who was a big guy. He was, like 6'9", very good career at UCLA. Thought he could be a solid pro, but drafted by the Lakers, never panned out. Shipped to Milwaukee. I don't think he did much there. And Brian Winters, who was a good ball player and actually was a very functional player. Bridgman and Winters were both good for the Milwaukee Bucks, but
not Kareem.
Kareem. Kareem, with like a 90-year-old Oscar Robertson, won a championship. Can you imagine? I mean, how good was this guy? Like in his second year?
Oh, no, Kareem. Kareem is the one that people always talk about, the LeBron Jordan. Kareem's the one that gets forgotten. He did. Without Magic, that Lakers team didn't really have much, and they were still competitive every year until they got Magic.
The sad news, though, is that Junior Bridgman, who became an inspiration for a lot of people, because after his basketball career, in fact, when Wikipedia, Junior Bridgman, it lists him first as an entrepreneurial businessman.
I thought he was a great businessman.
And a basketball player. Yeah, he bought a bunch of Wendy's franchises, expanded into Chili's, which was obviously enjoying much more popularity at the time. Do people still go to Chili's, Lubie? What do you think?
People go, but it just, the way the prices have raised.
I always liked Chili's as an option.
I was fine with Chili's, but the way prices are now, you could go to the next level up, and it's not that much more money. That's the thing. That's why Roadhouse survives and thrives, because they're in that fast casual level, but they're not priced like other fast casuals. Like
No.
fast casuals, because of prices. And look, they did what they had to do. They had to raise prices. Okay, well then I'd rather either go cheaper than you or better than you. Like I'm not going to go to a Chili's, or it's why Fridays like either went bankrupt or
Chili's, Fridays, super popular
it's
at
just
one
not
time.
worth it. Like,
Bennigan's, another one.
yeah. Well, Bennigan left a long time ago, but like for what they charge now, you can go to a little bit better place. So it's like stupid to go there. Like that's why Roadhouse is so strong, because they have such widespread vendors, and I guess they have a lot of their own farms and stuff that they're able to keep prices.
There you go, man. Grow your own meat. That's the way to do it. But anyway, Junior Bridgman checked out, 71 years old, had a medical incident while he was at a speaking engagement and died yesterday.
Oh, jeez.
And 71, and what was a great story in sports, because how many times do you see the exact opposite? The Boulevard of Broken Dreams, as Tom Archdeacon used to call it in his Miami News columns, where a guy ends up busted out. He's sleeping under a highway somewhere on crack. And maybe somebody comes, that used to be a teammate, and gives him some source of salvation, and the guy rebounds. But nothing like this. I mean, this guy he left basketball and boom, he ended up becoming filthy rich, and you have to respect that. Not that he didn't make any money in basketball. All right, Tony Segreto is going to join us. So we have Tony. Let's introduce him here before we take a brief time out. There he is.
Hello.
How are you, handsome? How you doing, kid?
I'm doing fine and dandy.
Good to see you, my man.
Good to see you too. I got a good report from the doctor yesterday. So
Oh yeah, what happened? This is the wrist. Are you back in action?
well, yeah, the wrists are back in action, but this was the neurologist. So
Okay.
I'll tell you about it on Friday.
Nice.
But
Well, you look good. I mean, was the report just enough to trigger like a new inspiring attitude towards the whole episode?
Tony always has inspired.
Yeah,
No, but-
you're always a cheerful guy, Tony.
but take a commercial break, because I want to tell you about St. Elmo's.
St. Elmo's. Oh, you've been there. Okay.
Well, of course he's been
Oh,
there.
I've been there.
You didn't get bumped for Jim Gray? Jim freaking Gray, man. You know how disgusted I was? I don't know. I mean, I don't resent anybody in this business. Everybody's got their shtick. You want to love or hate a guy. If they're making millions of dollars at this point in time, who am I to criticize the method behind whatever it is they're doing? And let's face it, the kind of stuff that you were doing isn't popular anymore. I mean, they want some screaming maniac who...
Or they have somebody that doesn't know.
Or just saying bizarre things. I mean, look, your man Skip Bayless, who I had great respect for when he was
He was a good writer. He was a really good writer.
He was a brilliant
Bayless,
writer, even
awesome.
as a young guy. I remember reading them in the LA Times, and I thought, wow, this guy can really write. I wish I could write like
Yeah.
that. I was a newspaper.
He went off the deep end.
Well, he found a lane to make money. I mean, that's what a lot of.
To the cash, my friend.
Yeah,
I mean, he may as well have been the Reverend Ernest Angley.
honestly,
Save you if you sent him a check for $50. I don't care how small it is. It'll help the cause. But no, I mean, for somebody to go on, TV day after day and tell you LeBron James is not a good basketball player, I mean, that's not your game, Tony.
No.
Never would have been.
That's like saying Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is not a good basketball player.
Exactly.
Kareem doesn't get the overall respect maybe from people, possibly because of his aloof personality. He's a strange kid.
Yep.
He really is. I waited on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in restaurants a couple of times. He used to come into this place. It was a health food joint. I was working on the Sunset Strip. And same. I mean, very reserved. It wasn't like you were going to shoot the breeze with Kareem for a while. And we met him another time, actually, with Leslie Visser. Our good friend Christian McBride was playing a special jazz engagement in New Jersey.
Play with him.
And Kareem got up in front of this crowd to read some of his poetry while this great jazz bassist, Christian McBride, was kind of giving him a little bit of it's like a Gil Scott-Heron type of thing.
Yeah.
And he was dead serious, Tony. I don't know, did you ever meet him? I mean, the guy before the show. This is Leslie Visser. I mean, is in the room there, the dressing room or wherever, the waiting room, green room, and Kareem barely looked up to say hello to her. You know, Leslie, you can't not say hello to her.
No, she won't let you.
She won't let you. Yeah. Hey, look at me.
No,
Yeah,
it's-
she's great.
So-
And it was a kind of setting where if you were ever going to be informal and just casual and sort of open up a little bit to people, this would have been it. It wasn't like he was going into the locker room for a Laker game against the Celtics in Game 7 and didn't want to be bothered.
He was a product of John Wooden, and John Wooden was like a father to him, and John was suspicious of the media and that's when the media started to really explode. And
I don't know. The media was pretty favorable to the Wizard, I would have to say.
yes, he was, but he was still guarded.
Maybe.
He was still very, very, very guarded. Very guarded.
I remember my friend Alan Greenberg, who I knew in college, became a big-time writer, establishes he was with the LA Times, like one of those guys that actually did work in school, and like his first job was the LA Times sports section. And he did this brilliant expose about how money was being funneled to these UCLA players through a booster named Sam Gilbert, who it was the main reason that they had like Marcus Johnson and Kareem and players of this caliber coming to the school. They weren't coming there just because they all loved the pyramid of success. And and rarely did any. I mean, this was such a shock that anybody would write something that was even remotely implying that the Wizard wasn't completely above board and a man above reproach. Well, we had a good story tonight. We'll come back and tell it because Jim Larinaga told us a great story yesterday about integrity, and it smacks of Tony Segreto. So we'll be back with more in a moment. Now that
The time.
It's 8:40.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Texas Roadhouse.
All right, welcome back to the show. Good to have you with us here on this Wednesday. Tony Segreto, for our Bleacher Brothers audience that may not be as familiar with the show as others. Does anybody not know Tony Segreto, Lubie? I mean,
Hard to believe.
worldwide recognition. What would you say?
100%.
He's interviewed presidents, kings, queens,
Yes.
Presidents, yeah.
sheiks.
No sheiks.
No sheiks.
No sheiks.
Whenever at the Hialeah horse sales, and standing next to the sheik, and going,
The
you just raise your hand at about 2.6 million.
The,
Oh,
Hialeah-
you're going to go 2.7.
the horse sales were the absolute best. They were the best because there'd be a guy who would spend 2.6 million or 3 million or $7 million for a horse, and then another guy who would spend 25 grand and get a horse.
Oh,
And
wow.
so they were all over the board, over the board.
Oh, those were great, man. Great times.
St. Elmo's. So I got to tell you a story.
St. Elmo's. So what's the deal? And then I want to tell you our Jim Larinaga integrity story also. Go ahead.
So I went with a group of people, maybe 4 of us, to St. Elmo's, and there was Jim Nantz was there. So Jim Nantz comes over and says hello and how you doing? We talked about a family and what have you, and then the waiter, the the concierge comes up to me and she says, "Mr. Segreto, your table is ready."
Wow.
I said, "See you, Jim," and I went to
Big time
We're
Jim.
getting aced out by Jim Gray.
You're big
And
time.
you are getting a table ahead of Jim Nance. Now, see, that's broadcast royalty
We should
right
have
there.
mentioned your name when we were there.
Wow, in Indianapolis. I mean, how did from the George Michael Sports Machine? What did they know you're from in Indianapolis?
I don't know. Maybe George Michael. Maybe maybe he'd been there a few times. I don't know.
If it's Joe Stonecrabs and Nance is in there because he's from out of town, he's doing a Dolphin game. All right, I could see Segreto getting up there first.
100%.
Yeah, I know. I'm speaking out of turn, and I know I'm speaking with a blasphemy involved. But tell me what's so special about Joe Stonecrabs? Please tell me.
One of those
A
places.
stone crab is a stone crab.
True.
Colossal.
They do them well, though. I mean, there are some places where their presentation, for whatever reason, isn't as good.
You're going there. Then you're telling me you're going there for a presentation.
No, for sure.
What's the lowest that you ever gave the concierge, the maitre d' there, to try and get a table? I mean, do you not immediately? Back in the day, you could grease the guy at 20 and probably get seated sometime within 15 minutes. 20.
25.
Has that gone up? Has that escalated over the years? I mean, a place like that,
think.
do you insult a guy? You hand him a 20 and he just looks in the palm of his hand like, what is this, threat?
This is all? Is this all you're talking about?
Go sit in the back there, and it's like you're in one of those rooms when you're getting your car repaired that has a little black and white TV with a silver foil antenna.
Yeah.
And they're telling you, it's only going to be a couple of hours. Don't worry about it, man. You can wait right here, or maybe there's a bus outside. You could go home.
Yes.
Great. Is there a racetrack nearby? That was always my question. All right, so how about this for integrity? And this is what I love. And the tournament, it also, I mean, it's just infused with Tony Segreto type of ethics and morality and standards. Okay, so Jim Larinaga, he's coaching at George Mason. He's got a guy named Tony Skin as his star player. This is when they made their run.
2006.
And what was that? They were, real good that year. And they're in a regular season finale, this Tony Skin guy punches a guy in the Family Jewels. All right. He went Andrew Galati, started throwing combinations. And Larinaga catches it. All right.
Only one.
What happened? And he said, I punched the guy. I lost control of myself. So Larinaga suspends him for one game himself. This was not mandated by any officials, by the NCAA, nothing. They didn't even catch the incident. So Larinaga is taking George Mason. He's got them on the bubble to make it to the NCAA tournament, and he's already announced that he's suspending his top player, which had the committee scratching its head going, do we put him in or not? So he upholds the suspension of Tony Skin and actually goes into that first game. They get in. Billy Packer is screaming. What is this team doing in there? They don't belong in here. This is real garbage. It's unfair to some deserving team. And Packer actually was friends with Jim Larinaga at the time. So he's making a big Stephen A. Smith type of case that they don't belong in the tournament. He keeps Skin out of the game, and they pull off a monumental upset. In the first game of the tournament. They beat Michigan State, and then Skin comes back and they make a run to the Final Four. And Larinaga tells us, and I love this story, he tells us that he sees Billy Packer, who's doing a game in the Final Four, and he looks at him and essentially says, do you still think we don't belong here?
You happy to see me here?
Right. I mean, they knocked off like North Carolina and the University of Connecticut.
That's a great story.
But I mean, who would do that in today's coaching environment and a landscape? Could you ever see any coach even coming close to doing something like that?
I think today you wouldn't, but there's still some coaches with integrity and with discipline on their team, just to prove to their team that they mean business, that they would do that. Now, a lot of coaches would, if the star player, he's going to play. He is going to play hell or high water.
But we've seen guys go out and stab people in the middle of the night.
And they play the next game.
Saying, well, you know what, we're going to hold off until we complete our own investigation. Yeah, the guy's playing that night. Just got arrested on a gun charge. He's out there on the court. What are we talking? Look at this Alabama guy. I mean, last year. My
Hey,
God, Tony. I mean, think about the money. I was reading about the money that's involved in the NCAA tournament. And, having read these stories and reported on them for centuries, look, we're talking about quarterbacks now getting $60 million a season or whatever.
I can't believe that Daniel Jones got
$14 million. Yeah.
$14 million.
This was after getting what, 160
He's not
million?
going to
How much
sit.
of that was guaranteed?
He is not going to sit. I can tell you that right
No,
now.
he's going to start for them.
How could you pay a guy a 1-year, $14 million deal to be a backup quarterback? You can't.
He's going to push him at least. It's going to be a competition, 100%. Like,
Is it worth it just to have a guy push a guy, though? I mean, what do you think?
Maybe.
yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, you have to know, do or die what you have in Richardson, and just giving him the job isn't doing it.
No.
This isn't like when they brought in a newscaster from Chicago, Tony. They put him on Sunday nights, and you were thinking, I know we got a contract negotiation coming up. Yeah, that guy's pretty good.
Yeah.
For Anthony Richardson, are you not thinking? Maybe?
I remember that Roger Twibble got the job instead of me at NBC6. Got the lead job. And
Total mistake, yeah.
And I went to Bernie Rosen and I said, "What the heck?"
Bernie told you, "Don't worry, it's only a matter of time before he flames out and the ratings tank, and you come in now as a savior."
Yes.
Always good to follow a guy who people despised in one of these jobs.
Yeah. What was that?
Always good to follow somebody that was not very popular into one of these jobs, where you can't help but be anything but defined by Barry Jackson or one of these media critics, Sarney, as a breath of fresh air, my friends.
Yes.
A breath of fresh air. All right, so where do you stand? We did get from Jim Larinaga that he likes Drake among the teams. I will find myself rooting for all of these teams. The St. Francis story was fantastic today.
St. Francis was great.
Did you watch some of the action last night? I was.
No, I didn't. I didn't get a chance to watch last night, but I'll watch tonight. And we got what 6 days until the tournament starts.
So, well, you have all the conference. The heavyweights don't come out till when? Will it be Thursday? Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday is when you'll get the top of the Power Five start playing, and then Tuesday you'll get the play-ins. And then Tuesday and Wednesday is playing, and then Thursday on. Next Thursday you'll get your tournament action.
I watched the women play, and Notre Dame got upset. I mean, they got upsets all over the place. But I think about you all the time, Defo.
Yes,
because the women have gotten so much better.
I would agree 100%.
Over the last 10 years, 5 years.
Last 10 years, no doubt. The depth has improved immensely.
In every sport.
More women can play than in the past.
Yeah. In every sport that they've gotten better. So, I'm glad to see you're coming around, but
no, I watch it. I mean, look, I was schooled in this by the great Pat Riley, who I made my usual sarcastic, facetious remark about women's basketball.
Lubie, can you picture him sarcastic?
I was even more inclined to do it, and I figured I was going to be very clever with Pat Riley, who I would love to think had even the slightest bit of admiration for my work. All right. But I think Pat Riley in general was just a big-time sports talk fan, surprisingly so, because as much as the whole genre was denounced by anybody that was involved in sports, they loved it secretly. And always tuned in to hear if they were being talked about. But Riley was great. I mean, he was very astute at picking things up. And I would hear him on other interviews on other shows, and I think, wow, look at that. Riley even knows something about this guy, which is great. But I was poking fun at women's basketball, the WNBA specifically, with the whole We Got Next campaign, which irritated a lot of people. And then you wanted to like it. I was a basketball fan. You wanted to look and go, wow, those girls can really play. And you were looking at, as we've often said, what would look like a rugby scrum with bricks one after another. And, the rebounds bounce on the floor before somebody actually picks them up. And it was the same thing like when I was sort of forced into doing women's boxing, where there were some women who could fight. Christy Martin had the moves of a boxer.
Yes, she did.
But there weren't enough women to be competitive to go ahead and man, if you will, or have people in all the different divisions and have it like competitive people. There was only like one or two that were really good, and that was kind of how women's basketball was for a while. But it's not that way anymore. I will say that.
No.
That being said, though, I watched the end of the UCLA USC game for the Big Ten championship, and Tony, I'm telling you, I want to like it. I really do, and by and large, I have come to accept it more. I'm rooting for these guys to be good all the time. And that was an atrocity when I was watching. That was the worst 5 minutes of basketball I've seen in a long time.
I didn't see that game.
Okay.
I watched the ACC championship, and that was really, really, really good.
Yeah.
But you know,
Gino's going to do it again, isn't he?
He is.
How is UConn going to be stopped in the women's game? What?
They're really good.
Look up the price on UConn to win the women's NCAA title. If it's more than 4 or 5 to 1, it's worth a shot. No? What do you think?
5 to 1, yes. 5 to 1, yes.
Don't get picky, Tony. How rich do you need to be? You have a house in Vermont.
Plus 300.
Hey,
they're 3 to 1. Wow, are they the favorite?
$50. Yeah, I lost $50 to Mayo on Friday last week, or 2 weeks ago. So, hey,
isn't that amazing too? And he tells you he's on a roll, so you go, okay, I'll go in with you. And then of course,
did he lose weight?
Did Mayo
lose weight?
He's losing weight. He's doing good. He's very on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you can help it with this Ozempic. The weird part is it has Anthony Galia's picture on the jar. That the stuff comes in. So I'm not sure. I mean, the last thing you want to have is a side effect. I don't care about oily discharge or any of that stuff. I mean, because you can deal with that. But when you get clown lip, did you ever have that happen to you when you were taking a medication that you had some kind of allergy to? And all of a sudden your bottom lip becomes like, you look like a puppet?
No.
No?
No, I haven't. Come to think of it, I haven't had that yet. But
all right, well, don't be shooting this stuff there. You don't need it, Tony. You don't have an ounce of fat on you. What are you talking? If you took Ozempic, you would literally disappear. There would be a search party looking for you.
Where is he? Where is he?
There'd be something else. All right, Tony, are you excited about the upcoming baseball season? I know you're a big baseball guy. I love it that you're old school like this. That's why we do the segment.
I am.
Yeah,
I'm really excited. I can't wait to see.
And what about your Yankees? I texted you the bad news almost immediately. Why is that everybody wants to do that to a Yankee fan? And I was a diehard Yankee fan at one time. My youth growing up until I was, I would say, till I made that bet in the 1960 World Series where we booked the action on the Yankees.
Oh, Mazeroski killed us. Killed us.
So I was a Yankee fan, diehard till I was 9. And loved Yogi Berra. I wore number 8 on my back of my little punch ball uniform there because you remember you used to stencil the number on a white shirt, and it would always run the colors. So they really hadn't mastered the idea of.
I stenciled Mickey Mantle.
You were 7, yeah. There were only 3 players on a team, and they were always 7, 8, and 9. That's the way it was. But what is it about they somehow a sadistic pleasure that people take in passing bad news along to Yankee fans?
I don't know.
I literally sent that out. I forwarded it to every Yankee fan I know, diehard Yankee fans, and I'm like, and I like these people. I mean, you're a sweetheart. What are you talking about? Why would I want to piss you off? Do anything that incited and/or was a springboard to depression before the baseball season even started. We already have that oppression here with the Marlins, don't we?
The Marlins already lost 50 games, and they haven't played one.
All right, well, no.
The Marlins are the poorest excuse for baseball. The poorest excuse.
That might be
so how are they not being pressured to unload the team while the guy in Tampa Bay, who always at least is representative competitively, their predicted win-loss total this year is like 83. So they're expecting the Rays in a division that spends gobs of money to try and win. To be a 500 ball club with nobody.
Are they a AAA ball club?
With the Marlins?
Yeah.
The Marlins, 100%.
I think they're more like, what is high A? What does that represent to you? High A.
I was
is it differentiated from like a lowercase a? What is high A in terms of minor league stature?
I was going to say they were a AA, but go ahead.
No, I don't know. I mean, all these guys were playing for, teams with nicknames like the Jumbo Shrimp last year. I think that's a AAA club, though. The Jumbo Shrimp, are they not the highest level of minor league affiliates of the Marlins?
They-
Well,
they-
the question would be this. I mean, look, the news wasn't out of the chute for more than 30 seconds, Tony. And all of a sudden, I mean, immediately speculation was that somehow the Yankees, without Garrett Cole, were going to immediately swing a deal for Sandy Alcantara, the
Oh, yeah.
Marlins' former Cy Young pitcher, coming off Tommy John, and that the Marlins would be more than willing participants in some kind of deal like that.
They
That's sad, isn't it?
that's very sad. That's very sad to think that already. I mean, you know, enjoy. I remember I read a book when I was a kid called The Suitors of Spring, and everybody should be excited about their team, and at least give them a month.
No.
No,
say
that's
win or lose.
mathematical elimination you're talking about.
I've forgotten about him.
So, are you taking it? You led us right into the perfect spot here, Tony, to finish things off. So, would you? Did you think this is a lofty number? You mentioned they've lost 53 already, which is possibly true. But would you bet over or under Marlins? And we've played this every season as part of a deal that we had. Well, it wasn't really a deal, but it was a deal, literally, with Deal Volkswagen. Because the guy who owned a place, a guy named Dan O'Malley, real sport, and he said, let's do something that's fun through the season, make the Marlins somewhat relevant. And we agonized every day. And you know what? If you have a bet like this, even the worst of seasons becomes very compelling, although you are rooting for your team to lose every game.
Oh yeah.
So
You know, we should pull our
63,
money.
63 is the number, Tony. 63. What are you looking at there? 63. They're probably going to trade Alcantara. If you look at their lineup, I don't even know. I mean,
I don't know what.
there are more well-known Double-A lineups probably out there.
63 games to win. That's
Yeah,
correct.
yes. Over under.
To win 63,
Over
over
or less.
or under Tony Segreto. You have 12 seconds.
That's low. Like that's a low number.
That's a ridiculously low number for a team total. There are only a couple of other teams with lower totals that are predicted: the Rockies and the White Sox. And the White Sox have been abysmal.
Yeah, over, right? Like it's hard to say over, but 63
Over?
Like they could have a horrendous year.
Excuse me.
You
Over
just
by
demean this team and belittle
Yes,
them as if they
65.
were subterranean little league.
over by 2 games.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
They
I
win 65. All right.
can see them getting 65, which is still a really, 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 really bad year.
All right. Well, if you're right, Tony, we'll get you a Texas Roadhouse gift certificate.
Yeah, for sure.
Ed Garcia, who was on
Let's seriously think of a series of something that we can do, and
Well, we should do a bracket.
No, we'll do brackets.
Yeah.
We're in
Here's
that-
what we could do, although I don't know how much fun it would be for the people out there, because we'd like them to fill out a bracket also. We should have some kind of bracket contest going
Yeah.
here at Bleacher Brothers,
Hey,
especially.
Lubie, call me. We got to figure it out.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's not.
Well, we
just
could
set
each do a bracket and compete and have people
We could just
pick-
set up a bracket
Yeah.
for the show, and then people can join in and compete against us.
Yeah.
and we'll shake loose a Texas Roadhouse gift certificate of some
Yeah, I'm sure
significance.
Ed
Ed
will have
Garcia is
some.
likely to spring for at least a stick, which is more than enough. I mean, you could take your girl out to dinner and she'd be impressed that not only did you know fine dining, but you knew how to save money.
Fine dining.
I would consider it.
That's
you know,
the word at Texas Roadhouse, boy.
if you don't have some guy with a violin, next to you, you're more likely to
It's
have
for
somebody
itself.
singing country western music. But
You know, I live
steaks are great.
off of University Drive, and the Texas Roadhouse would be so good in that area, in our
I
area.
don't kill it. Yeah, with
You
hammer.
should be a location manager though for Texas Roadhouse. Never mind sports.
I'll be a consultant.
There are people that do well doing that, Tony. Find them a couple of places. We always, are a little unnerved when Ed Garcia can't make it because we don't get to find out the status of the Davy store. It's people around the country are going, what the hell is this guy talking about? That's the way to leave him, though, Tony. Leave him guessing.
Leave them guessing.
I can't believe you got a table over Jim Nance.
This was years and years ago.
Did you ever, by the way, one quick thing, because the TPC is coming up. It starts tomorrow. So I need another opinion here because I'm going to go in the golf pool this time. I haven't played in a while. I finished second in the first one I was in, and I was out of the money for like the next 20. But that still leaves me substantially ahead because it's only like $50 a pop, right? So Of these three, who would you take at the Tournament Players Championship, Sawgrass, Signature Hole, of course, 17, the island there? You could hit a perfect shot, which I think is real cruel about the game of golf. A perfect shot, nail it right in the middle of the green, and it takes one hop, and boom,
Boom.
a seagull is picking it out of the water. A perfect shot could be
Perfect
like
shot.
a complete brick. All right, so Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Colin Morikawa. Of those three, those are the big three on this one list. I'm going to ignore the others, and if they beat me with somebody else, then fine. Of those three, though, who would you take in this tournament? And this would be, obviously, for me, an uneducated guess because I don't know how any of these guys particularly fare.
Scotty Scheffler would be the pick.
Right.
He's
That would be the
obvious-
normal reaction, right? You got the favorite for the tournament.
But I would go with Rory McIlroy.
You think Rory's going to do it, huh? All right. Because really, the game is based around you have to find, if you can find the best guy on the 7 lists, which they're all sort of rated by where the players are ranked, and, this would be the number one list. But if you can find the best player on all of these lists, you automatically are going to win. So we need to nail this one. This is a tough choice because now would you go with the theory that everyone's going to take Scheffler? Oh no, you did. You said McIlroy.
Yeah.
All right. I may book one for you, Tony. I'm not sure.
That's my pick.
All right.
Of,
you think,
of that short list you gave me.
Morikawa. Well, of those three, there are like 8 other guys on the list.
Morikawa. Who's the last guy?
Morikawa. He just finished second. He got, really kind of jobbed in a tournament there where the guy hit a lucky shot on 16.
I think Rory will.
McIlroy's been playing well. Scheffler, I think, is knocking on the door. He might win the whole thing.
He's
And
going
he
to
had
win.
a lousy 3-1. But if
He's
you're
the obvious pick, but
teeing off him in a pool, then you don't want to be wrong on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Morikawa finishes 10 strokes behind him.
In 2 weeks, we'll be joined by Joey Kornblatt, who will.
Oh, okay. 2 weeks. Okay.
Okay, very good.
We'll talk
You
about
keep
that.
telling us that. It's like trying to get a table, Lubie.
Well, there's
When we went to St. Elmo's. That'll be another hour. You walk right in, breeze right by. Prince Harry is there. Megan.
Prince Harry's there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Tony. Always a pleasure. Tony,
See you guys later. Bye bye.
what do you think on the Kornblatt thing?
No, I'll reach out to him. Honestly, I'm just letting Tony handle
No,
it.
Joey will do it.
He does have a lot going on. He's a busy guy. He's a lot going on.
Imagine being that athlete. That is a unique position. I don't think he's. I've been documented enough for what this guy did. Is it too obscure, Lubie? Highlight? It doesn't basically exist anymore. Certainly not at the level that it once did. I think they were even chasing Scott Sabin out of the Magic City Casino. I saw a little story on that where he's moving to some literally like Native American land outside of Montana with this thing. He's an innovator, though. We always call him the innovator. That's what it was all about. All right, we got to run. Thanks so much for being with us. We will see you tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. Our thanks to Tony Segreto. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. See you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
St. Francis, great story, Lubie. Drake. And catch that Jim Larinaga interview, Bleacher Brothers. Just look for conversations. I think you'll really enjoy it. Some tournament insights in there, too. It is 9:07.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.